exactly what is that they're looking for. So coming to the first question, where are we using AI? So the main question is that having the visibility of the AI systems in all the business functions. Maybe there are different, specifically in very complex environment or a conglomerate kind of scenario where there are different line of businesses. They are procuring their own, as per their requirement, they are procuring their own models, applications, and maybe and they are procuring, and maybe they're not informing the respective teams, and it's like a shadow AI usage being happening. So the leadership is not having the entire view or the visibility. So it's very important that we have a complete inventory of AI systems across all business functions. That's very important. Okay, so from the time the businesses are, onboarding AI, developing, maybe using open source LLMs and developing their own models, any kind of things, whether it's in-source, outsource, start labeling, start having inventory with all the details of the card models, proper versioning, from where it has been procured, third party details, start documenting everything. So the inventory becomes a fundamental for any kind of further metrics. So that's one thing that we want to understand, what is the what level of exposure we have in terms of AI systems. Now coming to the second question, which AI systems are high risk? So, risk categorization and prioritization based on business impact. Now, definitely, even though maybe not, if we do not talk in the AI term, rather we talk in maybe any IT or security, risk terminology as also. We are aware of that when we do a risk assessment, the intent is that to identify which are the critical assets and which are the high risk priorities, because not each kind of asset and not each kind of criticality would require that kind of control implementation or an attention that would be required for a very critical and a high risk situation. Similarly, it falls for AI systems as well. So now we have an inventory. Now we will need to categorize the AI systems depending on the high risk. Now, how can we do that? High risk in the sense, okay, that what kind of processing is going to happen, what kind of data is going to get into the processing, what can be the output of that, and do I have a very or the output can be very harmful or can be very irrational or can lead to the or can impact the rights and freedoms of an individual. Maybe when any AI system is involved in this kind of processing, it's an alarming thing, because since it can harm an individual, it can, harm a community or a society. It's very important. So those kind of high risk systems should be always, highlighted or alerted to the organizations. Sorry, to the leadership. So that's the second thing. Third is, are we compliant with regulations? Most important, privacy laws, data protection, and emerging AI specific requirements. So if you see, we have, like, I know you might have definitely heard about different data privacy laws, be it US, be it GDP, sorry, EU for GDPR, US for California Privacy Act, be Australia, go to Southeast Asia, you go anywhere in the different geography, you have very region specific privacy laws. Also, you have sectoral privacy law depending on finance sector, educational sector, different kind of. Now in India also we have the digital data protection law. Okay, so since we have different kind of privacy laws and AI laws been coming, so, and definitely with the laws and regulations, we are having a stringent obligations of fulfilling the requirement, or else there are different set of penalties being levied on the organizations. So definitely that kind of assurance is required by the management, that are we compliant to this, or is there any gap still open, which can lead, which can backfire us, or which can lead to some kind of non-compliance, because that's where the kind of support required from the businesses or the teams they can openly talk to the leadership and get the buy-in, or get in terms of resource budget, whatever is required. That's the dialogue where you can talk about the problems for the non-compliance, and you can get required resources. Now, fourth, who owns the risk? Most important. Clear accountability and governance structure for each AI systems. So, as we spoke, that AI applications and systems can be deployed in different businesses, and different departments. So not necessarily everybody is aware of each and every applications. So now, if you see, we do not have a clear structure like a CIO, CTO, CDO or hierarchy, but still now we are coming with a with a lot of concept called as Chief AI Officer. So there is a different vertical that may come in near future, because this kind of positions and designations are coming right now. So if we have a Chief AI Officer or in an organization and have a team under him, maybe that team will be the overall responsibility in driving that. They do not own the risk directly, because risk will always be owned by the leadership. But when we go one level down, depending on the operational risk, so who owns? So this team ideally will have visibility of all the AI happenings in the company and organization, and accordingly they can drive the way we have DPO function for driving data privacy. Or in that, even if we do not have, because different organizations will not have this structure, maybe the internal team, a compliance team or security team may take up this role. Anything can happen, but the main thing is that once we report this to management, at least they are clear on the accountability, that which team is deploying which kind of AI systems, and what are the measures that needs to be taken, and if something happens, they are aware who's accountable and whom to catch. So that kind of clarity is required. Then what needs immediate action? So that is also very important. And why that's why they need this dashboarding or the metrics, escalation triggers and priority mitigation activities. So once they have all these things, all these metrics in place, then definitely they will come out with, okay, what are my priority 5 things or 6 things, or what is the immediate action if I have any non-compliances. For example, if you talk about EU AI Act, so they have different classifications or differentiation in the systems. For example, prohibited system, something that is very harmful for a society or an organized for a specific person, society, or a group of community or a people. They have directly mentioned that this is prohibited. These AI systems cannot be deployed. Okay, so since that kind of clarity has been given. So for example, if the organization come across, okay, this is something I may be deploying and this is completely prohibited, so they know what to do next. Maybe they have to stop their plan, or think what are the mitigation controls they can implement to bring the risk down. So this is what these are the key metrics that that comes in the mind of the leadership level people, or the CXO level people, where they want to have all these questions being reported, or this responses being reported regularly, and that's where it helps them to take a right decision. So the clear objective of the dashboarding should be converting the AI complexity into leadership clarity with actionable insights. Because once the leadership has this clarity with all these few metrics, so whatever I have given is the indicative few metrics, that should definitely be a part of the dashboard. But you can have many more metrics depending on the different organization and the context, because this will give them the insight that what are actionable and what are the to-do list for them. So this is what should be ideally a dashboard metrics when you think about. Now, what should be the core components? So since we saw that what are the key areas that they are looking for, but when we summarize in the dashboard pattern, then what are the key components that we should be thinking of? First, we understood that it has to be AI inventory and classification. So AI use cases map to business operations with risk categorization, distinguishing Gen AI from traditional AI systems. So when we have this AI inventory, it has to be classified depending on what kind of processing it's going to happen. You can categorize those risks and you can map to different business operations. So, for example, HR is a business process, and maybe for resume filtering or for or initial screening of the candidates, they might be using some AI models. So when I have the business operations or department HR, then I have, for example, this one AI model been mentioned, and then what is the risk category? It's high, because if there is no human in the loop and only the only the ATS or the model is directly filtering the resumes and rejecting, there are high chances that very capable candidates are getting rejected. That is one kind of risk. So that kind of risk categorization should be clearly mentioned. Then risk and control status. So anything, any kind of AI models, from the time it is getting developed or it is getting outsourced, okay, or getting procured, till the time and then it is getting deployed, trained, and finally going to the production after testing, at each and every stages there should be different kind of risk assessments being done. It's not that, for example, I am procuring any AI model from a third party, and maybe as a part of my third party risk management, ideally, yes, when I'm procuring models from third party, I should be having that readiness. I should be having that framework where I'm going to assess the third party, in the sense that what are the standards they are following while developing a model, and what kind of data they have fed. Maybe they would have trained data from public sources, or they have their own database, and what are their testings they have done when they have developed these models. Do we have any risk, or the model vulnerabilities been assessed and closed, or that kind of reporting or a standard certification we can check. But that doesn't mean that once I have tested at the time of procurement, the model was clearly secured as per the due diligence, and I can just go directly and I can just deploy in the production. That should not be a process. The process is, whenever I am, even though I procured before the deployment, I should be having a thorough testing of different use cases, a mixture of high, medium, low, different kinds of use cases should be tested for testing the bias and fairness validation. Because the vendor would have claimed that, yeah, I have all the controls in place for bias and fairness validation. But for your own assurance and for a second level of validation, you should be having your own use cases been tested and see what kind of responses the model is giving. And periodically also, once you deploy, you can have a cycle of maybe every 6 months where you if you have the internal capability of security testing, or you want to procure any, or you want to outsource these services, it's completely on the discretion of the organization's choice. But that security review, because even the model also have vulnerabilities. So maybe and that vulnerabilities are something that go every single second. We are having different kind of vulnerabilities been coming. So and that's why the model testing security review should always be going on. And if whatever the vulnerabilities, we should be taking mitigation actions to close that. So this should be one of the key metrics of the dashboard, where what are the risk assessments I have done at what different levels, what are the outcomes, and or rather what are the risk levels, high, medium, low, and any actions required. So the risk and control status should be always presented. Then coming to the compliance view, as we discussed in the light slide also, that compliance should also be specific, one maybe one specific column or a focus area, where you're saying we have so many applicable laws and regulations, and we are at par with this. Maybe I'm compliant with GDPR, but maybe with the EU AI Act there is something that we need to work upon. So you should be having a clear privacy compliance, and entire compliance, security, privacy, AI compliance. All the compliance should view should be at one place, which will be able to locate, and they will come to know, okay, what in the one panel itself they will be able to understand that. Then coming to the operational health. Now, what are operational health? That model, so operational health become the technical controls. So the model drift monitoring. So of a drift, so data drift is something that, uh, once we train the model, okay, once we train the model, maybe, in the, after some time or whenever there is a new kind of, data getting inputted to the model, there could be some drift from what it was, we at the start, what was the behavior of the model, depending on that training data set. And now when the training data set changes, there could be some drift in the behavior and the responses. So this model drift monitoring, that incident reporting. So maybe we may have some incident reporting in the sense, that model is not working properly. We have a lot of hallucination cases, or maybe, the incident, and the, or for example, there are a lot of prompt injection attempts or being reported from the, external attackers or somebody, that we have open vulnerabilities, or so all these different kind of operational level monitoring should also be presented, like kind of operational health, that what is the health of the model itself. So these four main important components you can always take for that, as a core components of the AI governance dashboard. Okay. Now coming to the leadership assurance level. So once we have this models, what we discuss, sorry, this metrics that we discuss, the four key metrics being presented and defined. So how it's going to provide assurance to the leadership at what different levels? Okay. So first is strategy. Are we using AI responsibly? Okay, so AI portfolio view showing aligning business objectives. So once we have all these metrics being, showed to the management in terms of risk control, model visibility, everything. So this answers a question, that are we using AI responsibly? So this is kind of assurance, one of the assurance layer that is required by the management. Then second is what can go wrong. So after having all this, risk, maybe we can have a risk heat map which identify high risk areas. So this gives the assurance that, okay, I have different kind of risk maybe, and what is that high risk or a critical risk that may go wrong. So that kind of, response, that kind of, answers they generally get when they go to the dashboard. Then compliance. Are we legally safe? That's why, I was talking about having all the compliances in one place. That they want to be sure that legally are we safe, or there could be any complications or any issues that can arise. Okay, and then operations. Is AI behaving correctly? The operational health metrics that I was talking about. So once that dashboards, what we discussed, that we have this metrics. So generally, this very critical questions which are there in the mind of leadership are get answered from the periodic reporting of these metrics. Are the AI getting responsibly used in my organization? What can go wrong and can have a business impact on me? Are we legally safe and compliant? And is AI behaving the way it is actually intended to be? So these are the assurance level. I just gave a small sample. I've just given you some examples which you can actually, incorporate in those dashboards. So once you have the category, then under each category you can have different kind of metrics, and which are the ones that are like sort of very, not good to have. I will say, like, it's always mandate to have that. You should be having, this kind of metrics. So what this metrics will help. So it will immediately provide visibility into governance, effectiveness, and risk exposure to the leadership. So for example, AI inventory coverage. So you may have that, you may have a category of, maybe AI, what we say, that, AI asset inventory and all that. And in that, actually, what you are going to showcase to them. So you are basically showing them that what is a AI inventory coverage, means what, how many deployments we have, and actually what are, and how many are being inventorized. So for example, we have 50 estimated, AI systems in the organization, and we see that only 42 are the AI systems that has been documented into the inventory. So what does it mean? It shows a matrix that 84% of the inventory of the AI systems are been inventorized, but still we have certain risk, that is a shadow AI risk. So what it shows that still we have a risk of shadow AI, means that delta 16% is a risk for us, because maybe these are the critical or a high risk AI systems. We are not having any visibility of that, but still it exists and it's not under our visibility. So this is one kind of metrics. Second is the risk assessment completion. So I have 30 AI systems, in my systems. Out of that, only 24%, 24 AI systems are being assessed, which are running in production. So I may have certain systems which are, I have a, for example, I have a toll gate where every AI system should be assessed before deploying in the production. But there are certain systems, maybe there is some pressure from, in the real scenario, if we talk about, there is any pressure from the management that it has to be deployed maybe today or maybe by tomorrow, and we do not have that much of time to do the assessment, and so maybe this kind of scenarios can come, and that's where you mentioned that only, for example, if this is your monthly metrics, then you are just showing that 6 of the things are missing, means there are risks. These are not assessed, so they are still in production. So we may have different kind of probable AI risk that could happen. That could be prompt injection, that could be bias issues, that could be some attacks from the attackers exploiting the model, vulnerabilities. So different kind of risk can come because we have 20% delta remaining. Then coming to high risk AI systems. So in my inventory, I may have that out of this 50, this 20 are the high risk AI systems. Now, when I assess the AI systems, I may come out with, maybe a certain number of high findings. Okay. And ideally, high findings may have a SLA of maybe 12 hours, 24 hours, depending on the organization, their compliance and their SLAs. So maybe I still have, what I'm reporting is that I had 8 high critical AI systems, in which there are 3 with still open issues, which required immediate leadership focus. So this is where it is very important to show, because it's a high risk AI system. So we cannot, ignore this, or we cannot just, keep it away from their view. So we have to immediately inform the leadership that this is something and this will need your immediate attention. Now, governance maturity. It's very important, because governance maturity will give them an overall confidence on, what is the posture, what is the AI governance posture in my organization, and how do we do that? Definitely. So for AI governance maturity, it starts with your inventory, having the right set of policies, procedures. You should be having AI policy with clear guidelines that what is the AI principles of my organization that everybody has to adhere. What are the controls in terms of people, process, technology controls that should be part of what are the different processes that is mandated to be followed by the all the employees in our departments. And then I have this policy process, and I also deployed it. So my processes are my processes are functioning as intended, and that's how, and I have all risk assessments being happening properly. I have my governance reporting happening properly. So since when I have the entire assessment of end-to-end AI governance deployment, it gives me a governance maturity score. Now, for an organization, if I say 1 or 1.5, it will be like a very poor score. But when it sees that out of 5, I am at 3.2, it's give a kind of a, confidence that not bad. Maybe I still have a long way to get a matured, 5 on 5 score to have the proper maturity in place. But still, I have some improvement, and I have some better score. So this score helps them to understand that, what is the exact picture of the AI deployments in my organization. Then coming to the privacy and regulatory alignment, 83% AI systems completed privacy assessment. So these are like, some kind of metrics with regards to data privacy. So for example, of course, any data privacy processing that happens, ideally it goes through a review, data privacy impact assessment process, or any risk assessment. There are different processes in different organizations. So ideally everything should be undergoing the assessments, but then if something is missing, then definitely as a part of reporting you mentioned that my 83% of AI systems have completed privacy assessment, but still I have certain things which have not. That is a 17% gap. So that is one which leads to the regulatory exposure, because privacy is a legal and compliance thing. So it becomes a regulatory exposure thing for them. So that's very important to highlight. Then AI incident rate, very important. So AI incident rate could be like a lot of complaints that happening. That could be external incident, that could be internal, incident. So when I talk about an internal incident, there could be different kind of, maybe the model is not performing as intended. There are, while testing, we are seeing that there are multiple issues, and that the issues are reoccurring. So that becomes an incident. And when we talk about the external incident, then maybe there could be multiple complaints from different stakeholders, like for our customers, that your the AI system, maybe the services you are providing me, and through an AI, I'm not very confident. It feels that there is some issue or that way. So whenever, or for example, for any privacy related thing, if anybody wants to go and object it, please do not input my data in your AI systems, and that kind of complaints can also come. So there is a kind of a grievance committee or a grievance function which takes care of these incidents and complaints periodically. So what happens is that maybe this we have to always show them what is the incident reported, because that's a very important matrix, and how much is open. So maybe uh, the n number of incidents is reported, and I have closed them within the SLA with the right kind of solution. But there could be certain thing which is critical and which is open. For example, somebody mentions that delete my data, and you cannot delete because of some technical issues or maybe some regulatory retention requirements. So that is something, is a decision point where you are deciding still what needs to be done. So that's why it can be opened. So that's very important metric, because when you report this metric, maybe monthly basis or or a fortnightly basis, you can actually show them the graph or the trend, which will help them to understand. Okay, maybe in Jan I had 5 incidents, and in Feb I have 15, and then I have 25. So that gives them a vision that why the incidents are increasing. What is the issue? Maybe really there is some issue with something, or I'm just getting false positives complaints. So this kind of trend mechanism also helps them to take a wise decision. So these are the very key governance metrics that should ideally be a part of your governance metrics, definitely whenever you're reporting to a management. Okay. Now, just giving a background that why it's important, or what are the risks. So we have seen why these governance metrics are important, but if we do not do that, so what is the risk? Why a organization or a leadership should bother? Because if you see, there are different kind of AI frauds coming in, deepfake frauds coming in, different kind of AI risk. If you see AI-enabled fraud, deepfake approvals, voice impersonation, video impersonation, AI generated phishing is at scale. So nowadays the phishing has become so sophisticated, and so it's very difficult to identify is a phishing. It is so sophisticated crafting of the phishing mails due to AI, power. So, and the synthetic identity fraud using generative models, having lookalike photo, videos. So this kind of frauds which are enabled by AI is one of the very key risks if you do not have proper governance on that. Then data leakage, of course, that is also very important, because employees using public AI tools with sensitive data, because employees, of course, lot of so definitely, I've seen that a lot of organizations have blocked a lot of generative AI, tools and technologies like ChatGPT maybe, and some other tools, because they fear that employees can input the wrong data or the sensitive data or confidential data, which it should not be. So that kind of threat or risk is always there, and there will be data leakage. So that is one of the risks. That definitely, that's why this kind of decisions are being taken. Then training models on confidential data sets. So if I'm training a model on confidential data sets, then definitely there is a chance that when somebody is giving a prompt to the model, maybe it can disclose the confidential data of the organization. So that is one thing. Then unauthorized data sharing through AI platforms, definitely. If we have multiple AI platforms being open in the organizations without any scrutiny, data leakage prevention tool like DLP, or having a proper access restriction mechanism, definitely people will start, because maybe it can be unintentional, it can be intentional. So people will start sharing data across multiple AI platforms, and that also becomes a risk to the organization. Then coming to the automated wrong decisions, then that's very important and very much a concern to the end user, because everybody fears on the bias thing, because they are not aware that at the back end how the AI is performing now, it's taking decisions for me. So bias hiring or pricing decisions, incorrect AI recommendations impacting customers, then discriminatory outcomes without oversight. So these are the certain risks that definitely, they are, concerned about. And that's where, when we talk about different kind of use cases, testing, and, before deploying in the production, having all kind of testing being done, is the intent is that this wrongdoing should not happen. Then coming to the regulation and reputation risk, of course, very important for the organization. Unexplainable AI decisions, lack of audit trail, regulatory penalties, and brand damage. So when there is no governance, leadership is not aware of anything what's happening inside the organization with the AI deployment, definitely this kind of risk will propagate and this kind of risk will come. So that's why the leadership message is that AI risk is not only technical, it is financial, legal, and reputational, which is a business risk. So leadership doesn't see AI as a technology risk only. It rather sees it like a business risk, which can actually, can impact, or it can actually shake in the business also if something goes wrong. So that's the level of importance to the leadership on that. And how do you so coming to, I think we're just coming to the last few slides. So we just discussed upon what should be the different kind of metrics for AI reporting on governance. Then how do we actually design that? So it's just a we may have different kind of designs. There are multiple tools and technologies. We also provide the reporting, best of the reporting capabilities, but at the bare minimum, what should be how the design should look. One page executive view definitely is very important, and there has to be a executive view with everything summarized with the critical information. Then it should have a risk first approach, lead with risk exposure and business impact rather than technical metrics. So after that, you should be having that kind of risk exposure and the business impact metrics, which will be very eye catching for them and which will bring a focus to them. Then define threshold that automatically flag issues requiring leadership attention. Clear escalation triggers. So threshold in the sense, as we discussed in the last slide, that we have different kind of metrics, and 84% of the AI systems are inventorized, 50% are not are high findings are still open. So we should be setting up certain threshold or target that this is my acceptable level. Anything without 90 less than 95% or 96%, I'm not going to accept. So anything that you're reporting, on month by month or as per your frequency, then how? So once you start reporting, it will automatically flag issues that for past 3 months or past 6 months, there is a upward, downward trajectory happening for the escalation metrics. Then using a business language, use terms like revenue risk and a compliance exposure instead of technical jargon. So when you write that, model vulnerabilities, they will not understand. If you write that, model is not performing as intended, they will not understand. Rather, you use a word that cybersecurity attack, compliance exposure, revenue risk, financial risk, brand reputation. These are the business language that we should be using, which will help them to understand what is the impact on the business. Then periodic assurance, periodic assurance reporting, monthly or quarterly dashboards showing trend and analysis and governance maturity progression. So there's no fixed frequency or a best practice. You can choose as per your governance committee agreement and times or time from your leadership. That it is always good when you're starting, since AI is a new field. We do not have a just one best or one fit solution right now. It's always better if you make it more frequent now. Maybe you can have a monthly cadence of having this dashboard showing, and once you progress or once you have some maturity, you can make it quarterly. Then have a proper governance committee, integrate AI into enterprise risk framework, align security, privacy, legal, define accountability, enable safe AI adoption. So, since of course all or every organization have a enterprise risk management, there are different kind of risk from finance, HR, commercial, cybersecurity, data privacy. We will also need to plug AI risk over there, because AI is also one kind of risk which is not only specific to privacy or security, it is also related to the AI ethics, transparency, trust, the different kind of risk rather than only technical and a security risk. So this kind, and this should be integrated with the ERM, and you as a part of governance committee, you can also discuss, where in the ERM, where does your AI risk sit in the heat map. So if you collate everything into dashboard, it will be quite self-explanatory for the leadership to understand. Then coming to the last slide. So what is the future of AI governance that we see? So when we talk about current state, of course, we have started in annual risk assessments, periodic reporting. Just starting with assessing your maturity with regards to the AI requirements, going through different kind of frameworks like NIST, risk management framework for AI. Then there are different AI related, frameworks by different organizations. So when you're starting right now, a lot of organizations are referring these frameworks that what is the best way to adopt AI securely. But now since they're referring that, there are manual processes that have started, like how should a risk assessment should be done, what should be a part of policy. This is the current state. Now, what we see that how AI governance will flourish ahead. We see that a continuous assurance will go ahead or will be required, and it will happen. A real-time monitoring with automated compliance check. So once after maybe another one, I think easily from 1 to 2 years, if we go, once we have this manual process being bit automated, once there is a maturity, there has to be an ongoing assurance happening. So it should not be dependent on one person, that somebody is going and doing an assessment or and showcasing that this is a risk for the compliance level. Rather, that should there will be mechanism where automated monitoring will happen, and the automated dashboards will be published, or the compliance metrics will be published. AI governing AI, automated oversight systems managing AI behavior. So, of course, we will have a way where AI itself is, governing AI, wherein all the AI behavior, everything will be automated and have an oversight from AI itself. So, this is very prospective, which will take easily 3 to 4 years or maybe 5 years as well to get that kind of maturity. We are between 1 and 2, or I think most of the organization are will be must be at 1 only. But between 1 and 2, also we are good that we are at least having some methodology, some thought, and we are started doing something about it. Then enterprise integration at the last, seamless integration with GRC platforms. So since a lot of organization will be having a IT GRC platform or an enterprise GRC platform, once this AI governance dashboards or an entire maturity becomes that mature, this can be integrated with the enterprise GRC platforms, where with all kind of GRC metrics, AI will also be one of the metrics that can be projected in the same screen with different kind of GRC metrics. So AI governance success is when leadership can trust AI outcomes without needing to understand the algorithm. So that's the beauty of the AI governance dashboard, and the importance that rather than understanding the algorithm, like how AI is working and how things are happening, the governance or the dashboarding or the insights that we are giving to the leadership should give a true outcome to them, and which will help them to have a trust on the AI implementations. And common mistakes to avoid: too technical. For executives, avoid being too technical. Do not use too many metrics, or lot of metrics, so that they get confused and not sure where to focus. No ownership visibility is a concern. Static compliance reporting and no risk prioritization. This is a common mistake. Avoid doing this. Try to at least, to start off your journey, try to go through the best practices. There are a lot of AI ethical principles, AI responsible AI standards and frameworks coming. You can read that. You can start your journey and start developing policies, processes to start some journey. And when you have all this in place, then definitely you can start working on the metrics and to project to your management. So I think with this, I come to the end of the session. Thank you, and really happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much, Maya, for that insightful session. And yes, I already see questions coming our way, so I'm just going to read them one by one. The first one says, it's from Samir: high risk based on business impact only, or also on individuals or and society, please?
High risk based on business impact only, or also on individuals and society, please. So high risk will always be based on individuals and societies rather than directly on the business impact. Because if you see AI, when we talk about responsible AI, the intent of the AI is that it should protect the people and ultimately the planet. The way, we are talking about sustainability. So whatever we are developing, definitely it will have the benefits for business. So how do it also impact the business? If the individuals are impacted, the society is impacted, we have laws and regulations in place, okay, and which will backfire to the organization and which will get converted into a kind of a business impact. So ultimately, everything gets stitched to each other. So it's not only business impact, it's individual and society and business together.
Thank you so much. And it's the same question from Samir, different one. Like he asked, how do you estimate in the slide of AI governance metrics that there is 50 estimated AI tools used in case we did not identify them?
Sorry, I didn't get this question. Just a minute. Maybe we did. Okay. How do you estimate, please, in the slide of AI governance metric, that there is 50 estimated AI tools used in case we did not identify them? Okay, so you mean to say that still we have not inventorized that, but we are aware of, okay, that we have this many AI systems, still shadow AI kind of thing. So see, when we talk about, like initially I spoke about the cross collaboration between different teams and departments, where different teams and businesses would be deploying some kind of AI systems. And so when we are talking about AI inventory, we are talking about a structured process where everything that's coming to the production or coming to the business should be inventorized in the asset management tool, for example. So there are ways, there are mechanisms, there are different kind of tools like data discovery tools, asset discovery tools that are in place that highlights or alerts if you have something, okay, that's overall like that these are the kind of different systems that we have in place. If you go to cloud platforms like GCP, Azure, they have their own modules where you see what are the different models being inventorized or deployed. So when you map, so what's governance? Governance is something you go through all the tools which are having this AI models been deployed, and you have your inventory and you map it. That whether it's in inline or there is a delta, or there is a some kind of difference, and that way you come to know.
I hope that answered your question, Samir. And let's move to another question. For the types of AI, predictive, Gen AI, agnostic, autonomous, which governance area is considered risk at companies today? That impact area is with financially liability or human safety.
Let's get accomplished with that area is right. So you see, we cannot categorize, in this way that maybe Gen AI is very risky or agentic autonomous AI is, risky. It all depends upon the use cases because different AI models are being trained in such a way or have different kind of purposes. The outcome that comes from the systems are, that could the way it is been, what kind of output or the prompts are coming and what exactly the content is and how it is manipulating or it's affecting the individual who's actually dependent on the response. And these are different kind of use cases which will be dependent on different models. If you see Gen AI, the main risk is that people trust on the responses that's coming from the tools and technologies. When you're coming to the agentic AI, people fear that I am completely dependent on the agents, AI agents, to execute my workflow. What happens if in between there is some kind of risk, the workflow in between there is some kind, I'm completely dependent on the AI and it is misbehaving